The forest has always been my sanctuary, a place where the chaos of the world fades into the rustle of leaves and the song of birds. I've spent years trekking through its deepest parts, always seeking that connection to something wild, something pure, but I never imagined I'd find something that would connect back with me so profoundly. It started on a crisp autumn afternoon, deep in the Pacific Northwest. I was off 2 miles from any known path, documenting rare fungi, when I heard a sound that didn't belong. It was a faint, distressed cry, almost like a human baby's, but with a strange, guttural undertone. My first thought was that someone was in trouble. I followed the sound, my heart pounding, pushing through dense ferns and ancient trees. The crying grew louder, more desperate. I finally broke through a thicket of rhododendrons into a small, hidden clearing. And that's when I saw him. Curled up at the base of a giant redwood was a small, hairy creature, no bigger than a toddler. It was covered in soft, auburn fur, with large, dark eyes filled with tears and terror. It was undeniably an infant, but not a human one. It was a baby Bigfoot. My breath caught in my throat. Every instinct told me to run, that a protective parent must be nearby. I scanned the clearing, my senses on high alert. The silence was heavy, unnatural. There was no sign of any other creature. The only sound was the whimpering of this tiny being. It looked up at me, its cries softening into a series of soft, questioning chirps. It was alone, abandoned, and terrified. All thoughts of my own safety vanished, replaced by an overwhelming wave of compassion. I couldn't just leave him there. Slowly, cautiously, I took a step forward. The little creature flinched, but didn't run. I crouched down, making myself as small as possible. I spoke to it in a soft, gentle voice, the way you would to a scared animal. I held out my hand, palm open. After a moment of hesitation, he shuffled forward, sniffing my fingers. His touch was surprisingly gentle. He nuzzled his head against my hand, and the last of his whimpers died away. In that moment a bond was formed. A silent understanding passed between us. I named him Ben. I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't take him home, but I couldn't abandon him either. So I set up a more permanent camp nearby. For weeks, I became his protector, his caregiver. I foraged for berries and edible roots, things I'd seen bears and other forest creatures eat. He was a quick learner, mimicking my actions, his big, soulful eyes. Watching my every move, he'd follow me on my hikes, his tiny, fur-covered feet padding silently behind me. We developed our own language series of clicks, whistles, and gestures. I spent countless nights by the campfire, watching him sleep, wondering about his family. Why was he alone? Had they been forced to flee from something? Did they leave him behind on purpose? The questions haunted me. He seemed perfectly content with me, but I knew this couldn't last. He belonged with his own kind. I started leaving out food and supplies deeper in the woods, hoping to attract the attention of other Sasquatch. I'd find the food gone, but saw no other signs. One evening, everything changed. We were near a ridge overlooking a valley when we heard it. A deep, resonant call echoed through the trees. It was a sound I'd only read about in witness reports of Sasquatch call. Ben Frosse. His head snapped up, and he let out an excited, high-pitched response. A moment later, 2 massive figures emerged from the tree line on the far side of the valley. They were a UJ, towering over the tallest pines, their dark fur blending with the evening shadows. His parents, they called again, a sound filled with longing and relief. Ben looked at them, then he looked back at me. His big eyes were filled with a conflict I could feel in my own heart. This was the moment I had been waiting for and dreading. I gave him a gentle nudge. "Go on," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. "They're here for you. Go to your family." He took a few hesitant steps towards the valley's edge, chirping back at the 2 figures. They responded with soft, encouraging calls. But then, he stopped. He turned around and ran back to me, wrapping his small arms around my leg, burying his face in my pants. He looked up at me, his eyes pleading. He was choosing me. The 2 giants across the valley watched in silence. I could feel their gaze, a mixture of confusion and, perhaps, understanding. They let out one final, mournful call before turning and melting back into the forest. They were letting him go. They were respecting his choice. Why? Why did this infant Bigfoot choose me? A human over his own kind. I've thought about it every day since. Maybe in those first crucial moments, when he was alone and terrified, the bond we formed was stronger than instinct. Maybe he saw something in me, compassion, safety that he now valued above all else. Or maybe, just maybe, the lines we draw between species aren't as rigid as we think. Perhaps love and connection can bridge any gap, even the one between a human and a creature of legend. Ben is still with me. In a way, I had to make the difficult decision to bring him to a remote, protected sanctuary run by a few trusted colleagues who specialize in cryptozoology and conservation. It's the only way to keep him safe from the world. I visit him often. He's growing bigger and stronger every day, but he still runs to me, wrapping his now much larger arms around me in a familiar hug. His story is a secret I will carry forever. A reminder that the world is full of more wonder and mystery than we can possibly imagine, and that sometimes the most unlikely friendships are the ones that change us the most. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever had an experience you can't explain, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, please consider liking and subscribing for more tales from the edge of the unknown. See you next time.